Testing. Still 30 seconds left. Everybody's so anxious and excited. You're all here and on time. It's wonderful. All right, it is officially 6 o'clock. Welcome, everybody. My name is Sue Tomte, and the League of Women Voters of Park Rapids in Minnesota is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. So you can read more about us in your program that you all have. You all got programs, right? Good. And I want to thank you for attending tonight's event. And we want to thank our participants for taking time to be with us tonight, and I'll introduce them in a minute. But I'll also like to thank our member volunteers. We've got up front our timekeepers, Susan Bearden and Beth Baker-Noodla. Did I say that right? Noodla. All right. And thanks also for the City of Park Rapids for allowing us to use this wonderful new space. First of all, some housekeeping. Please turn off your cell phones. I think I turned mine off, and I'll just verify. And there are refreshments that you may grab now, coffee and treats and some really delicious looking bars. I'm trying to avoid them personally. Okay, of course, donations are always welcome so that we can keep having good, delicious bars available. All right, and then restrooms are right around the corner in this new facility. So with that, the candidates have received ground rules for this event. And as audience members, we ask you to remain as quiet as possible so that everyone may hear. And we ask our candidates to actually use those microphones so that everyone may hear. And please hold any applause until the forum has ended so candidates can use their time to answer questions. And, oh my gosh, you guys, we have a good amount of questions, so we'll all be anxious to hear how our candidates think. The League will also determine which questions will be asked and will accept in good faith to cover areas of interest expressed by the audience. Questions have been screened and similar questions have been consolidated so that as many topics as possible will be covered. And no questions of a personal nature or that are inappropriately hostile or unclear in intent will be asked. So it's our goal to have a civil discussion on the issues and give you information you need to know when you vote on November 6th. Okay? All right. During the event, please raise your hand if you have a question and a card, and a volunteer will come zipping around and pick that up and run it up to me. So it was my intent to only grill these guys for an hour. But if we have enough questions and they're willing, we may go longer. All right, so let's go with introductions. So again, thank you for being with us. We've got an interesting crew of candidates. Our participants tonight.
Ed wants to talk to you.
Hello.
Oh, do the batteries.
Our participants tonight are, so let me explain a couple things. We have different people that you will see then on your ballot. Our participants tonight, Pam Hauber is an official candidate that will be on your ballot if you are in the City of Park Rapids and you will be voting for mayor. Also, Pat Mickish, whom I will introduce, is in the audience, but he has chosen not to continue. So his name is still on the ballot. So it will be there, but he's not participating here. Ryan Lechner is participating, and he is an official write-in candidate. and he can introduce himself more in his statement, opening statements as we get started. So I want to honor Pat Minkish for his service to our city and thank him very much for all that he has done. And then also in our audience we have another candidate who is on your ballot, and that is our county attorney, Jonathan Freed, is also on your ballot. So take the time to meet him today. He is running unopposed. Okay, so are you ready? We will get started. Our timers, they have 2 minutes for their opening statements. So we will start with candidate Pam Hauber. First, you may make your opening statement.
Hi, I'm Pam Hauber. I've been a resident all my life. I did grow up in Osage, went to school in Park Rapids. After graduating high school, I went to Detroit Lake M State. I have a degree in medical secretary, a degree in accounting clerk. After school, and before school, I've been in the restaurant business. Stayed in that until 2001. Since 2001, I've been at RDO. Been there for 17 years, and that's where I'm currently still at. I have my husband, Fran, to thank for all the support, and my son, Tony, who lives in Burgess, Minnesota, and works in Detroit Lakes. My passion is hunting, fishing, outdoors, gardening, and that's about it.
Very good, thank you. Is this working? All right, next. Are our timers ready? They're new at their job. So Ryan, go ahead. Ryan Lechner.
Okay. Hi, my name is Ryan Lechner. I'm running as a write-in candidate for mayor of the city of Park Rapids. I believe I am qualified for this position due to the numerous years I have served in local government. I have served 6 years on Henrietta Township Board as the Henrietta Town Chairperson. I have been on the City Council since 2015. I serve on the Fire Relief Association Board of Trustees, the Hubbard County Regional Economic Development Commission, Parks and Beautification Board, and Urban Forestry Commission. I was born and raised in Park Rapids. I currently live in Discovery Circle in Park Rapids. My wife and I have 4 children, or 5 children, 4 of which sorry, misread, yeah. 5 children, 4 of which are still in the Park Rapids school system, 1 that has graduated. I own and operate 2 businesses in Park Rapids, the Detail Shop and We Sell Your Stuff. I decided to run for mayor as a write-in candidate after Pat Minkish withdrew from the race. I felt with my experience I needed to run so that Park Rapids had another choice as a write-in candidate. I officially declared my candidacy as a write-in by sending an official letter to the county auditor's office and the city clerk of Park Rapids. A write-in vote for me is a valid vote and will count on the final tally of votes. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for having me and everybody that showed up to listen, and hope that you'll consider me for the mayor of Park Rapids. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Now, as we're going through questions, one person will start one time, the other person will start the other time. So since you started the first question, we will start these series of questions with Ryan Lechner. So the first question is, what is your understanding of the job of mayor in Park Rapids? So what's your understanding of the job of mayor in Park Rapids?
I think the job of the mayor is to lead the council in following policy and making sure that we follow all of the law that's out there. You know, right now we have, the city has a good operating policy system in place where we have very good staff hired to run the city, and they're all qualified for their position. And we have to trust them, but we also use our judgment as the council and the mayor to finalize that, make sure that they're doing a good job.
Thank you. And I forgot to say these are 1-minute questions.
And they'll get a 15-second.
You'll get a notice once you've only got 15 seconds. All right, Pam Hauber. Pam Hauber, what is your understanding of the job of mayor in Park Rapids?
My understanding as mayor is to, that working with the council members, to guiding them, and as a whole to make the best decisions you can for Park Rapids. At the same time, it's not just a council meeting, it is all divisions of the city. It is from the sewer and water to parks and maintenance and everything they have at Public Works, along with the streets and the city sewer and water and whatever other maintenance is going on or whatever's going on in the town. And also to be able to get involved with the town, not just on a working basis, but as a basis in a whole.
All right, thank you. And kind of as a follow-up to that, how would you describe your leadership style? And if you can, give examples. So Pam will go with you.
My leadership style would be, I'm a perfectionist. I like to have things done and done nicely in a very orderly manner. Sometimes I need to step back and look at things and really listen to what's going on around me to make sure I hear it all before I say anything, and just make sure things are being taken care of and the people that are interested are taken care of also.
Thank you. Ryan, your leadership style and examples.
I just think that, you know, if you treat people, you know, with respect, and I guess I don't, you know, I have had plenty of employees and that I've worked with, and I've had leadership skills there, and just keeping everybody on the same page.
All right. Thank you. All right, our next question, and we'll start with Ryan this time. What are your top 2 short-term and long-term priorities to address the city's challenges for the future? So what are your top 2 short-term and long-term priorities to address the city's challenges for the future? So Ryan, we're starting with you.
I guess one of my passions in the city is economic development, and so I've been really interested in that, and I would like to see the city to continue to grow economically. I think economic development is very important, and to stay on task to try to keep our levy as low as possible. I mean, that's a lot of things I hear from the constituents is they want their taxes low, but yet find that balance where we can keep the streets and up and add new things to the city. I guess that's all that I got now.
All right, thank you. Pam, top 2 short-term and long-term priorities to address.
My short-term would be to try to curb the spending or we can slow down our rising taxes. Is it easy? No. There comes a lot to put into consideration when we're talking about all this. It's not just infrastructure in the streets, it's everything that comes along with it. Long term, I'd like to have all the streets fixed in Park Rapids, but what, again, it takes to get there, we have to look at so much and not just, I want. So,
All right, thank you. Okay, this is a long question, but I'll read it all the way through twice. Pam, we're starting with you. Prior to the downtown revitalization project, there was a plan put together for Park Rapids overall improvements, like how to utilize the river, making safe walkways, and things like that. The beach house in the Red Bridge Park, as well as several other buildings around town, have been sitting empty for years. Any ideas on how these items can be part of our revitalization project? So I'll read it again. Prior to the downtown revitalization project on Main Street, there was a plan put together for Park Rapids overall improvements. So how we utilize the river, making safe walkways and things like that. And the beach house and several other buildings around town have been sitting empty for years. Any ideas on how those items could be part of the revitalization project?
I'm not sure on what all buildings we're talking about. As for the beach house though, being an historic building, I'd hate to see it go away in any way. But what actually we can do with it, I don't know until I would have to look into what we can do that is approvable and but yet safe, and I'm not sure at that point, but like I said, I'd have to look into a lot of it, but I'd hate to see it go anywhere, but what we can actually do with it, I don't know. As for the other buildings, I don't know what they're all is.
Okay, all right, thank you. Ryan, do you want me to repeat it?
Nope, I think
Okay.
yeah. Well, I think, that stuff has been in our long-range plan. We have a capital improvement plan that we follow, and we're working really hard. There's a lot of streets that need attention. We also put other money towards parks, and I think that's where that would be part of the allocation, is our plan in the Parks Board. Unfortunately, we only have so much money to work with, and to try to keep the taxes low, those projects get pushed back. And like I said, there's streets that we need to do that get pushed back, and without going further, raising taxes, that's going to be tough to do.
Thank you. All right, next question. And Ryan, we're starting with you this time. Is it true that business owners pay a property tax rate that is nearly double the residential rate? What are some ideas to address this issue? So pros and cons of that, because business owners pay a property tax rate that is nearly double the residential rate. What are some ideas to address this issue?
Okay, that's a good question. That's another thing. As I've been on the council, I've been asked from constituents, and I have a lot of friends that are business owners, and unfortunately, I have dug and I've looked in to try to find an answer to that, and it's really hard to find. I mean, the best thing that we can do, and that's why I'm so for economic growth. If we can get more businesses, even if they are auto parts stores, to come into town, they're gonna, if you think of it, that raises that tax value. They're paying more taxes than it is. So I mean, the more of that we can get into the city, and we can take care of Main Street and make that viable. The downtown business association is doing a great job with that. I mean, the downtown is doing a great job, and we need to keep that up. So.
All right, Pam, same question. Business owners pay a property tax rate that is nearly double the residential rate. What are some ideas to address this issue?
First of all, yeah, we are a tourist town, and in the summer we're really busy, and I understand it would be really hard on the commercial properties in the winter, because winter we do die back. We die back a lot. So if there's some way we could get more commercial for maybe spread it out a little more, maybe that would help. But that would be something I'd have to look into also. Being on the outside coming in, it will be a big haul that I'm really looking forward to.
Right, thank you. All right, now this one we're starting with you, Pam. Park Rapids has aging infrastructure, water and sewer lines that need replacing. Plus, we still have unpaved streets within city limits. How do you prioritize these projects? So Park Rapids has aging infrastructure, things like water and sewer, that need replacing. Plus, there are still unpaved streets within city limits. How would you prioritize these projects?
Well, before we even prioritize that, next year we have the state putting in a roundabout, and that already affects our sewer and water. And we will also have other taxes being brought and expenses to get that finished, because we don't have a choice but to get that done. So that is already one thing we are looking at for 2019. And then also our bonds are going up next year 2%. So there is another expense already on top of that. So that's why we have to find a happy medium with all of it, for we can get the infrastructure that we have in town fixed along with the streets. I live in the western side of town where it is getting really bad, and I understand it needs to be done. But like I said, there's always seems to be something coming up that we need to take care of first, and taxes keep rising and everybody's screaming, but it takes a lot to get to where we're at.
All right, thank you very much. Ryan, aging infrastructure, how do you prioritize?
There again, I know the city, we work close with the staff and coming up with the CIP plan, the capital improvement plan, and it's hard, when I first got on the council, to get it described to me, because I thought the same thing. I get a lot of questions of Fair Avenue and why that's so rough. And our plan, it's in place. We had to replace the sewer so that it would handle Fair Avenue, which is on the west side of town. And so what we did is we started at the river where the stormwater goes, and we've been working our way back. And it's hard to inform the public of that, because it seems like that's such a bad street, and we're trying to get there, but we just, we have a good plan in place. We just got to keep on it.
All right, thank you. Okay, now we're kind of changing a little bit, and Ryan, we're starting with you. So, what is the current status of temporary housing in the area to fulfill seasonal needs? And then, is there a way for a city council can improve the situation? So, what is the current status of temporary housing in the area to fulfill seasonal needs? And then, is there any way the city council can improve the situation?
Sort. Temporary housing. I guess I'm a little confused of what that would be. If that would be motels and for seasonal housing, I don't know. I'm stumped on that one.
Yeah, I don't have an author for this question, but what is the current status of temporary housing in the area to fulfill seasonal needs? Is there any way the city council can improve the situation? Okay, Pam, any comments on that?
I don't know, I haven't heard of it happening in Park Rapids, but you hear a lot of it when people go south. They rent out their houses for 3 months, or even people around here will rent out their house for 3 months. They're going south. So if that's what they're talking about, have I ever heard of it happening in Park Rapids? No. But maybe there is people willing. But other than that, I haven't heard of it.
Okay, so we'll switch gears. We'll do a different question. So this is a nice long one too. Are you ready? Pam, we're starting with you. Given the size of today's SUVs and trucks and the poor visibility at intersections for both vehicles and pedestrians, often caused by not being able to see around or over the bigger vehicles, how can we make some changes in downtown parking, such as limiting the ends of streets to compact cars or motorcycle parking only? Or any other ideas? So I think a short person wrote this. I had permission to say that. Okay, given the size of today's huge, big SUVs and trucks and the poor visibility at intersections for both vehicles and pedestrians, caused by not being able to see over or around the vehicles, can we make some changes to the downtown parking, and any ideas on that?
No, I have no ideas, but I think if we make one less important than the other one, someone's going to get upset along the line. So as a council, you would just have to choose or get people's ideas to what they'd like to see and gather information and go from there.
All right, thank you. Ryan?
Yeah, I know this has come up before. I think it's at the crosswalks on Main Street, as far as the visibility, maybe getting rid of one of the spaces. And I think what we came to as a conclusion was you're not supposed to, not supposed to, but driving fast on Main Street, we have a shortage of parking already. And but we definitely, I think as a council, should be up for ideas on that if there is concerns, because we definitely don't want to lose that center parking on Main Street, because it's a very important thing for our city.
Okay, thank you. All right, this is question number 6. Can you believe we're question number 6? All right, Ryan, we're starting with you. In June of 2015, the City Council authorized a study by Library Strategies Consulting for a needs assessment of the Park Rapids Public Library. The assessment showed the library to be a vital part of the community that should be updated and expanded. What are your feelings on this issue, and what should the city do next? So in June of 2015, the City Council authorized a study by Library Strategies Consulting for a needs assessment of the Park Rapids Public Library. The assessment showed the library to be a vital part of the community that should be updated and expanded. What are your feelings on this issue, and what should the city do next?
First?
Yes, Ryan, you're first.
Yeah, I definitely think that the library is a huge asset to the city, with the internet that nowadays that it offers and the books and everything, and it's high priority. We have heard of the study, and unfortunately we'll figure out a way to do it. I know we will. And following that CIP plan again, when we get the money for it, there's some budgeted money for the library, and we'll have to work something out to revitalize it.
All right, thank you. Pam?
We read that again.
I will. So in June of 2015, the City Council authorized a study by Library Strategies Consulting for a needs assessment of the Park Rapids Public Library. The assessment showed that the library is a vital part of the community that should be updated and expanded. What are your feelings on this issue, and what should the city do next?
I agree with the library. I'm a big reader. My husband despises me sometimes because I love to read. One thing I'd like to see with the library is to get in the newer books where a person can, like me, that likes to read. I could grab like 5 books a week and read them all, but we don't have the books in there that are up to date. And to get them in, we're always having to order them to get them. I'd like to see the fresher, newer be available. So yeah, if we could keep the library up to date, looks and in books, it'd be awesome.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Pam, we're starting with you on this one. So, vandalism around Park Rapids has been in the news lately. Places such as the downtown restrooms, the Art Walk sculptures, and a few other places and that are part of the city's responsibilities. How should the city best address this issue of vandalism? So vandalism around Park Rapids has been happening over the summer. Downtown restrooms, Art Walk sculptures have been vandalized, and they are part of the city's responsibilities. How should the city best address this issue? And Pam, starting with you.
I wish I knew. I can't believe what society has come to at this point. The library, the restrooms on Main Street are great. I mean, the tourism appreciated it all summer. I love to walk through the park and see all the metal work and stuff that's been done. It's been awesome. And for people just to come in and destroy it, for what reason, I don't know. But how to fix it, the city cops can only be in certain, they can't be everywhere at once. So what the answer is, I don't know if it's cameras or whatever it is going to be, but I don't have answers, but I really wish we wouldn't have to be going through this.
All right, thank you. Ryan, your comments.
Okay, I had heard about this before, and I didn't know this. I know this question would come up, but one idea that I did hear of, but haven't looked into, what I thought was a good idea was, I guess there used to be a group around. It was like volunteer cops, and they would, sign up with the police station. They didn't carry guns or anything, but they would patrol the city on a voluntary basis. And if they saw something going on, or if they saw kids in a back alley, they'd call the police and say, we need to question this, what's going on. And that's, like I said, I don't know what the legality is in that, or what it'd take to get a program like that going, but since that question came up, I think that'd be a good idea.
All right, thank you. All right, starting with you. Our population is aging. The average age is rising. What are your plans to improve elderly services, such as upgrading the Senior Citizens Center or anything else? So our average age of our population is getting higher all the time. What are your plans to improve elderly services, such as upgrading the Senior Citizens Center? And yeah, you answered last. You start.
Well, I think it's very important to take care of the elderly, and you're right. This is a population that we have a lot of retired people live in, so I think we should keep our services up. The Senior Citizen Center would be a great project to revitalize. I think it'd be. I would be all for something like that.
In a couple of years.
Yes. In a couple of years.
You will be all for it in a couple of years.
Yeah.
No, I'm teasing you. That was a joke. He's not ready for the Senior Citizen Center yet. Thank you. Pam, your comments. Use your microphone. There you go.
Yeah, we're all getting older, and we're all going to need the services sometime. But do I have answers for it? No, I haven't looked into something like that. I don't know how that building is owned and run, or how the city could help.
All right, thank you. Next up, and we're starting with you, Pam. What are plans to help develop Park Rapids tourism in the winter months? Do you have any ideas on that? Plans to help develop Park Rapids tourism in the winter months.
Let's all go ice fishing.
All right.
The Smoky Hills are, I'm not sure who it's all under, but they have the ice fishing house out there right now. Maybe we could get more of that out there, because I know a lot of the elderly do enjoy being able to go fishing, staying warm, and being with their friends. Maybe find some walks a person could take. Yeah, sure, you gotta deal with the slipperiness and stuff, but the winter could be just as fun here in the winter as it is in the summer.
Right, thank you. Ryan?
Okay. Yeah, I think ice fishing is becoming a big thing that we should push. You know, some ice fishing rentals. You're starting to see Fishhook Lake get busier with those ice houses, and then another thing I'm big on is the snowmobile trails. We have to be snowmobile friendly. We can't move away from that. I've been pushing that in the city too, to have designated snowmobile trails to get to downtown Park Rapids, to use those restaurants and you know, a place to park. We need to come up with a plan to put that together. And who knows, maybe we could have some music out on Main Street in the wintertime too.
I'll share my idea at the end. I'll share my idea at the end. I have a good one. All right. Next question, starting with you, Ryan. What are your priorities for protecting the economic and recreational value of the Fishhook watershed? So what are your priorities for protecting the economic and recreational value of the Fishhook watershed?
Well, like I said, I think our lake and the river going through here are very important, and we want to protect it to the best of our ability. I'm really not the expert on that, but I, would do everything I can to protect that if it came up to a decision on that.
All right, thank you.
I'm not sure what all that entails, but any lake I'd hate to see destroyed. And so what actually the watershed of Fishhook is all pertains to, I don't have the answers. That's something I would have to look into, but I'd hate to see any lake destroyed.
All right, thank you. Okay, so here's the deal. This is a fun question. Are you ready? It's a fun question. If revenue projection, and we're starting with you, Pam. If revenue projections came back that this, oh no, I'm going to switch them. This one's the fun one, the other one isn't.
Okay.
If the revenue projections came back that the city could increase its budget by 5%, as mayor, what would you do? So you could increase your budget by 5%.
This is an if, right?
Yeah.
Pay off all of our bonds before we could start fresh, maybe. Or take all the infrastructure and get that all fixed and all the roads fixed for everyone to be happy. And then, like I said, just finish the roads, the bad piping, and all. Like I said, get a fresh start, and then build from there.
All right, thank you. Ryan.
I think that I would, yeah, that would be kind of nice. Pay off, a lot of our finish some of the road projects that are on that CIP plan, so we can move our way down. One of the things that's just on the top of my mind now, because I'm on the Parks Board, is I would take care of the tennis courts for those people, to help some of those projects that we're trying to do in the parks and Dean Park, fill in some of those projects so we don't have to worry about them in the future.
All right, thank you. Right now, the flip side of this is if revenue projections come back that the city needed to reduce the budget by 5%, and Angela's in here, so she knows, she's listening. So if you had, the city needed to reduce the budget by 5%, as mayor, what would you do, Ryan?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just like we do. It seems like every year we do have to reduce the budget and try to get it down, and we'd go with our needs first and everything that we need to run the city, and then we'd have to put off projects that we would like. And you know, those are some streets and the park projects and stuff like that. That's where we have to cut that stuff that comes out of those funds, so. Unfortunately, we have a tight budget with, you know, staff and employee, that cost, insurance cost goes up every year, and there's just nowhere to cut there, so that's where we'd have to do our cuts, what I believe.
Thank you. Pam?
First of all, we always have the expense of our bonds, our heating, our electric, our water, stuff that has to be paid, even as individuals and having our own homes. We have to pay that stuff. Our loans we have to pay, our rent, our electric, our phones, it all needs to be paid. And then we'll just have to cut back from there. If it's equipment buying or road fixing or what it may be, if it's parks or whatever, we'd have to cut back and find a way to make a whole together until we can get back on our feet.
All right, thank you. Okay, now we're talking economics again. So, do you think that Park Rapids, and we're starting with you, Pam, should hire its own economic development director, or currently we share economic development activity with Hubbard County? Do you think Park Rapids should hire its own economic development director or continue to share Hubbard County director when we hire one?
That's kind of tough for me because I don't know what the person's job all obtains. What I've seen so far, I believe that being able to share it would work out. Maybe if we had more income, more businesses coming in where we got busy, maybe then we could get our own, but at this point I think sharing is feasible.
Thank you. Ryan?
Yeah, I don't think that the city could afford to hire their own. You know, if they could, that would be helpful, but it's worked out really well with the city and the county. And by the way, it's not just between the city and the county. It's probably a third private sector also, and so I mean it covers. When we help, you know, Nevis, but if you think of that too, we're the lakes area. We're not just the city of Park Rapids, so we work together. Everything that's booming in Nevis is helping out Park Rapids. They're staying in the motels. I think we need to work as a group, to be honest with you. So.
Thank you. All right, good. Okay, here's another one, sort of on economic development, and Ryan, we'll start with you. Do you believe there are opportunities to deliver public services more efficiently through cooperation with other governmental agencies like the county? So for law enforcement or any number of other things. Do you think there are opportunities to deliver public services more efficiently through cooperation with other government agencies?
Yes, I do. I think, and I think we've began to do that more as a city already. You know, the county sheriff and the city police department work very closely together. Here, just last week in the city council, we signed an agreement. We use the county attorney's office as a service, and I mean, for what we get, we pay a low rate. If we had to hire our own attorney to do all that work, we would pay much more. So we're getting a really good rate from the county on that. No, I think the city has a good relationship with all the other departments around the area. So, and I'd like to keep that as the mayor.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You want to read that one?
I will read it again. Do you believe there are opportunities to deliver public services more efficiently through cooperation with other government agencies?
Definitely. It seems like to be able to work as a team with whoever it is, if it's a police department, county sheriff, the fire departments, as Ryan said, even attorneys, in the long run, if you can work together and work well together, it'll come back around.
Right, thank you. And this one, we're going to start with you, Pam. What do you see as the city's role in the Armory Square project? What do you see as the city's role in the Armory Square project?
In any certain aspect of that, or just as for the Armory, the city, I'm not sure what point they're at with the Armory, but they have their grant of $2.5 million grant that MMCDC, ZEMIC, and PRCDC wants one with, and then Midwest Minnesota Community Corp would hold the lease, while the Park Rapids CDC would sublease it. And where they're all at with that, I don't know. It sounds to me that it is going to go through. We'll have to wait and see, and go from there.
All right, thank you. Ryan, what do you see as the city's role in the Armory Square project?
Well, as being on the city council during that whole thing, I'm very happy to think that we have a very good agreement, and the city's in good shape right now with that agreement. And what we're doing is we're leasing to this MMCDC, which is a corporation that has very well capitalized, and they have a lot of money to back it. And so our lease will be to them, which they will take care of any expenses that aren't able to be made. And they're gonna sublease to PRCDC, which is our local group, which will give them a good shot to get on their feet and take off. And I guess my view on it on the council has been to keep Park Rapids from paying as little money as possible into the program. And so that's why I'm very happy with this agreement we have right now, is it covers us from having to pay any expenses into that.
All right, thank you. Okay, we do have a few more questions. And remember, audience, if there's anything else that you would like to add or ask, write a card and we'll grab it. But here we go, here's another one. And Ryan, we're starting with you. How can Park Rapids help get more affordable housing so that employees can stay here instead of commuting? What innovative ideas have you heard that could help? So how can Park Rapids get more affordable housing so that employees can stay here instead of having to commute? Ryan.
Well, we have some good groups around right now that are working on affordable housing. And one of the neatest ideas that I've heard is they used to call it affordable housing, and you could, you had to be income based. And so you might only be able to make $8 an hour. And as soon as you made over $8 an hour, you got a raise, you weren't able to live there anymore. And now they're changing it around where they're granting money to the builders to build these places less expensive, so that it doesn't matter what your wage is, it's just an affordable rate, like $600 a month they'll rent these units for. And it doesn't matter if you're making $8 an hour or 12, or you better yourself and you're making $20 an hour, you can still afford it. So I think that's the avenue we should continue to go on.
All right, thank you. Pam.
Where is affordable housing? I'm not sure. So much of what people make is just going to housing and monthly bills, and there's never no extra. So yes, if we could find a way to keep the housing low for people can afford more elsewhere other than bills, that would be awesome. Working at the plant, I see people from all over, way up from Bemidji, Wadena, Detroit Lakes, Walker. If they could get closer for they're not traveling, that would also help them.
All right, thank you. Okay, this one we're starting with you, Pam, and more on this type of discussion. What are your plans to attract businesses to the area that provide living wages? Can you see how to use tax incentives, federal and state grants, or other ideas to further your plans? So what are your plans to attract businesses to the area that provide living wages? And can you see how to use tax incentives, federal and state grants, or other ideas to further your plans?
I don't know how the state grants work for that. But even, like I said before, even working at Lamb Weston, the pay is really good, but yet for a single parent with children to make it, it's really tough. So I don't have the answers to that.
Okay, Ryan, any comments on that one?
Yeah, there is some stuff out there that we as a city can use. There's tax increment financing, and that's worked well in a few areas. We have a revolving loan fund, which there's some money that we can grant businesses to entice them to the area. And I definitely think we need to use those as tools. The obstacle that we've came across, though, when we've had decent, good paying wage companies wanting to come, is our workforce. We've done surveys, there aren't the workers out there. Housing, where we're talking about affordable housing, we need more affordable housing that gets the people here that can work. Daycare, that's another big issue. And the school, but that's only, I mean, we have that going for us. We have a really good school, but that's the school, the daycare, housing, and workforce. Those are some big that we need to improve on to get people here.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And we sort of talked about this, but I'll ask it again since it's here. And we've just got a couple more, and then we'll do a wrap-up. What are your reasonings on how to balance community needs versus the tax burden placed on residents and businesses? So what is your reasoning on how to balance the community needs versus tax burden placed on residents and businesses?
I think that just it goes back to kind of running a business or running your home. Is you have certain things that you have to do to keep it going, and then you have to weigh out financially what you want to do with the extras. If it's too much of a tax burden on people, and you're hearing that, you cut on some other ends. If sometimes too we take a risk. If we want to make something go that's going to help the town in the future, we might raise the taxes a little bit to cover that, but you just kind of have to weigh out what you really need.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Pam, what's your reasoning on how to balance community needs versus the tax burden placed on residents and businesses?
Park Rapids has many businesses and not a whole lot of large businesses. Yes, we have the hospital, we have the school, we have Lamb Weston, we have Straight River, which the pay is above minimum wage. But then we also have the elderly that live on Social Security. And their budget is tight. I've heard from several of them, if taxes keep going up or if they're assessed, they're gonna have to shut their doors on their house even. I'd hate to see anybody lose their house. So we have to really look and watch what our needs are, and what the population needs are, and go from there.
All right, thank you. Okay, and this one was just handed to me a little bit ago. And starting with you, Pam. There is an unmet need for monitoring the city's forest properties. What would you support to address this issue? There is an unmet need for monitoring the city's forest properties. What would you support to address this issue?
I guess I didn't know we had forest property.
Okay.
Me?
Yeah?
Yeah, I guess I wasn't aware of it either, and I would suggest that if there is an issue, I would really encourage somebody to bring it to the town board, probably, or to the, not to the council, but to the urban forestry board. That would probably be the place to, because I mean, there's a lot of people on there that are really up on that stuff, so I would definitely bring it to them.
All right. Good. Oh my gosh, you guys. 55 minutes of grilling and questions. You have been doing an awesome job, and I'm going to give you 2 minutes each to wrap up and tell us why you, what you want us to know as we are leaving here tonight. So Ryan, since you were the last one to speak, I am starting with you, and please give us your closing comments.
Okay, well, first off, I'd like to thank you and the League of Women Voters for having me, and everybody that showed up to come. And like I said, I'm decided to run as a write-in candidate for mayor, and I just want everybody to know that it's going to be tough, but just remember that you'll have to remember to write in Ryan Lechner, and that we have checked. I keep getting questions from people, you know, does that really count? Or yes, it does count. That vote counts. So people know that, and I feel with my experience, I can do a good job. I'll do the best I can for the city of Park Rapids. So, thank you.
Pam.
First of all, thanks, Sue. The city as a whole. There's more to the city than what the public really knows. It's not just infrastructure, it's just not streets. You have the parks. You have the public works, you have the cops, you've got the fire department, you have the liquor store. So I'd like to step back and take everything as a whole and see where we're sitting and go from there. I'd just like to get back on track, curb the spending, curb the rising taxes, and start over. Thank you.
Thank you. And on behalf of the League of Women Voters, we appreciate the audience members who come out, who want to know more and hear more from our candidates. We thank our candidates tonight for everything that you do. There will be a video available of this, this forum, and as soon as it's posted, it'll be posted somewhere, right?
On the League of Women Voters.
On the League of Women Voters site, yes. And there is our last forum for Hubbard County will be on October 18th. The sheriffs will have a candidate forum. It will be at Northwoods Bank at 6 p.m. next Thursday, so a week from tonight. So thank you all for coming tonight, and we appreciate that you did. There's still food and treats. We have candidates in the room. Please take the time to visit with them and ask them more questions in case they didn't give you enough answers. Thank you very much.